So I've been seeing a lot of crazy, crazy takes about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I've been seeing it on YouTube. I've been seeing it on ESPN. And we're talking about the Morris twins because they have been at the top of the list with their outrageous takes. And look, I understand you have a job to do. You got to provide proper analysis. You used to play in the NBA, but you got to make sense at the same time. No disrespect to them. I know they're trying to make it and, have a career out of analyzing the NBA, but we got to do better here, in my opinion. Now, OKC is already on their way to win the Western Conference Finals, and congratulations to them. They have been fantastic throughout these playoffs. They've proven to everybody that, yes, the entire roster maybe have not been to the NBA Finals outside of Alex Caruso, right? But defensively, they've been elite. They had one bad game in the series against Minnesota, but they were battling them in Game 4. When Minnesota made their runs, what OKC did was crash the glass to generate more possessions and create turnovers. Again, they force 19.2 turnovers a game. That's the most in the NBA. They're really good at ball hawking, getting in passing lanes. The defense is historic, in my opinion. And then we look at the other categories and statistics from OKC this year. They have the second highest all-time net rating, right behind the Chicago Bulls of 95-96. And then they're ahead of the 96-97 Bulls, ahead of the 2016-17 Warriors, and ahead of last year's Boston Celtics 23-24 team. By the way, 4 of the 5 teams in the top 5 won the championship. So they're in a great position to capture their first ever championship. And let's talk about the roster construction. A lot of the guys they drafted, Chet, J-Dub, they traded for SGA, but at the time they made the trade, SGA was a rookie coming to his second year, I believe. And then you go out and sign Isaiah Hartenstein. You trade for Alex Caruso last year. And everyone else on this roster you drafted. Sam Presti has done a phenomenal job putting this together. And you look at the playoffs. They handled Memphis. You can say, well, Ja got hurt in Game 3, but that wouldn't have mattered in my opinion. They still would have won in 5 games. Then you look at the Denver series. They were battle-tested throughout that series. They lost Game 1 in a heartbreaker, came back and blew them out in Game 2, lost Game 3 in overtime. Then you go to Game 4, where they held Denver, I think it was like to 10. It was a very low score for Denver's offense. Denver did respond. They took a lead, and they were gaining momentum. But that fourth quarter, when OKC was down, they came back and locked Denver up. It was just impressive defense. You go to Game 5, the game was tight. Jokic was put on a show. J-Dub had a huge corner 3. I think it was like a minute 30 left. SJ was brilliant down the stretch, getting to the foul line, hitting his mid-range shots. I know people like to complain about his foul baiting, but on the other side of it, people complain about too many 3-point shots. So it's like, which one do you want out there? SGA is just really good at what he does. His footwork is incredible. He's very, deceptive with his dribbling. He's good with his pump fakes. The guy is just skilled. You can be mad about the free throws all you want, but SJ is really good at what he does, in my opinion. And then you look at, obviously, the Game 6, Denver came back and responded. Game 7, Denver got out to a double-digit lead to start the first quarter. OKC responded and blew them out. Just impressive stuff. So we can sit here all day long and try to hate watch this team, but I don't think it's necessary. This team is great. They never won a championship, and I think they're going to win their first one ever, and they deserve it, to be honest. They have been dominant. Check this out. They had 54 double-digit wins in a single season. That's the most ever in NBA history. That means 54 out of the 82 games, they won by 10 or more points. That's insane to me. Now, I want to talk about the Morris twins because they've had a lot to say about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Kendrick Perkins, and shout out to him, he really was holding their feet to the fire. I want to show you what he says after this ad here. It was really cool. So let's go ahead and hold on a second. Just wait for it to. All right, there we go. Let's fast forward a little bit. Start about here.
Do that.
All right, Big Perk, Twins, with a hot take about the teams left in the playoffs, that there's no true great teams left. Perk, do you agree?
Well, what's his definition of a great team?
Must you make everything complicated?
Yes.
I mean, it ain't complicated. He said there ain't no great teams left. Well, why don't you tell us your definition of a great team? I'm just saying.
I didn't make the statement.
But you can answer the question.
I didn't make the statement.
Now, I like the fact that Kendrick Perkins said, how do you define a great team? What is your true definition? A lot of people have different interpretations. So I'm very curious to see what the Morris twins have to say. That's a good way to start the conversation is how do you define that and what's the measuring stick for being a great team?
All I'm saying is, what is your true? And I'm talking to Marcus. What is your definition of a great team?
Okay, we'll let Marcus explain.
Okay, Perk. Hey, listen, this is when I say great team, right? Like OKC is a good team. They're a budding team to become great, right? Like we can't stamp them. Like what makes them a great team? Like are we stamping because of what they're doing in the playoffs or because they had a really good defensive regular season team where they were number one in a ton of categories, and obviously they have the MVP and SGA. Okay, so if we talk about great teams, are we talking about great teams?
So Marcus says that, okay, how we define this when we got like this great defensive team in the regular season, in the playoffs, and by the way, they're going to make the NBA finals. And then we're talking about SGA as an MVP. Those are great accomplishments, right? So how can you say on the other side of your mouth they're a good team, but you're listing all these accolades for these players? I mean, which one is it? That doesn't make any sense to me because in the NBA, you have to accomplish things, right? You have to go out and win basketball games, and winning should matter, right? If you're going to label the Bulls as a great team, the Celtics from last year, a great team, why not the Thunder as well? I know they haven't won a championship yet, but if they cap this off, it's a great basketball team. To me, they're already great already because of everything they've accomplished this season. But to act like that doesn't matter is just crazy to me.
It's a great season. So we're putting them in the same category as the Warriors, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. Are we talking about the Bulls here with Michael Jordan? Are we talking about the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq? And let's just talk about last year when we talk about great. So the Boston Celtics last year dominated the playoffs, literally dominated 4-1.
So let's talk about the Warriors for a second here. Didn't they have some playoff battles where they had Kevin Durant on their team with Draymond, Klay, and Steph Curry? They went 7 games against the Houston Rockets. They're considered a great team. You talk about the Boston Celtics from last year where they ran through the Eastern Conference. Is OKC doing the same thing outside the Denver series? Yeah, there was a battle in that series, but again, the competition you could say is stronger. And they're handling Minnesota in 5 games. They handled Memphis in a sweep. And they blew out Denver in a game 7. Like I said, they had the most double-digit wins in a regular season ever. The net rating is second all time. That's not great. You talk about the Lakers when they had Shaq and Kobe. They went 7 games against the Sacramento Kings. Yes, they had a playoff run where they just dominated, but there were other runs where they had a lot of battles. So should OKC be punished because they didn't have as many wins as the Boston Celtics last year through the conference, that their series against Denver went 7 games? No, because other great teams have gone through a 7-game series. The 08 Boston Celtics, we forget when they played the Atlanta Hawks, that was a great team. It went 7 games against the Cavs. It went 7 games against the Pistons. It went 6 games. They beat the Lakers in 6 games. They never had a series where they won in 5 or less. Are they not a great team though? It's the playoffs. It's never going to be easy. So to act like OKC is this regular season team and they're good, not great, is just crazy talk. And I don't understand what they're doing here. It's just dumb.
4-1, 4-0, 4-1. When you talk about great, that's what you see great. They took a win against a Grizzly team that was mediocre. We all knew they were going to beat the Grizzlies. They went to Denver and went to 7. We thought they were going to blow Denver out the park. Now we go to Minnesota, and after the first 2 games, Minnesota was clearly could have had a chance to win both of those games at home. So when you say great and you say dominant, like the word great is just too much. I think that they have a chance to be great. I love their system. I love their defensive tangibles where they can switch guys in and out and be in the passing lanes and be able to dominate defensively. These last 2 games, they got hung 260 points on them. So what part of their...
Okay, so let's talk about the Golden State Warriors that won the championship in 2022 against the Memphis Grizzlies in Game 5 without Ja Morant. They gave up 134 points to Memphis. They got smoked, blown out. You're bringing up a game where they gave up 143 points to the Timberwolves, holding out against them. The next game after that, they won. And he brings up Game 1 and Game 2. The second half, OKC pulled away and blew out Minnesota. Those are just facts. He acts like it was a back-and-forth game, which tells me, did you even watch the games? Because OKC ramped up the defense. They pulled away. You're talking about these what-ifs. It did not happen. Look at the facts in front of you. OKC is dominating. Tonight, they were up by, I think, 35 points. I didn't see the entire score. They're up by 31 right now with a little under 8 minutes to go. Dominant. This team just beats you down. 54 double-digit wins. Second highest net rating in league history. How can we say that's not great or dominant? I just don't understand here.
What part of OKC is great other than having great defensive schemes and guys being in the lanes? That means that the coaching has to be really well, and having SGA being able to be the catalyst of young players to grow into a great team. We're not going to crown them as a great team right now. I just feel like that's just too much.
Perk, to that say what?
I am, and I am, and I'm glad you brought up Boston, because one could argue And what people were saying that they had an easy path to the NBA Finals last year. Did Donovan Mitchell complete the series when they played against the Cavs? No, he was injured. What about Tyrese Halliburton? What about Tyrese Halliburton?
Perkins is straight cooking here, and he's telling all facts. The Celtics had an easy run, and I love the Celtics. It's my team, but they benefit from injuries. They were dominant the entire season. I don't think it would have mattered if those guys were playing. Maybe the series would have probably gone 6 games, maybe 7, but I still think they would have won the championship, in my opinion. But to act like, as you heard the Morris twins say, it doesn't matter that Boston had to not face a lot of tough competition is insane to me. When you look at what the Thunder have had to deal with, the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic in a lot of people's eyes. You had to deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who got to the Western Conference Finals last year, and you're just beating the brakes off of them. Yes, they had the blowout in Game 3. It was back and forth to Game 4. But for the most part, OKC has been in complete control of the series. So to dismiss them and act like, oh, well, you know what, the competition for the Celtics doesn't matter, but then you're over here saying, well, OKC, they're a good team, but they still have to prove it. The Celtics didn't win a championship last year, and people are saying you got to prove it. But to me, they were dominant all year, and they proved it in the playoffs. And that's what OKC is doing right now. It's okay to me to call a team great when you have great players. I mean, we're going to sit here and say Patrick Ewing's not great because he never won. Are we going to say Charles Barkley's not great because he never won a chip? Like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Injured as well, right? So when we talk about greatness, we're watching the all-time great right now, right in front of our eyes in SGA. Yes, an all-time great already right in front of our eyes. We're talking about one of the greatest defensive teams. We're talking about one of the greatest defensive teams ever. Yes, we're talking about individually. Can Chet Holmgren grow to become a great player? Absolutely. J-Dub, can he become individually and stack up some accolades to become a great player? Absolutely. But we're talking about a team here. This is a great team from top to bottom. This is, again, one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. Here's the thing. You brought up all the top 5 greatest squads to ever win a championship. You brought up the Warriors, right? You brought up the Bulls, okay? But there was some other squads out there that won championships, that wasn't just stacked. You look at the Toronto Raptors team. I thought people may say what they want. I thought that was a great team, right? The runs and the people that they had to go through, they broke up happy homes. They had to go through Philadelphia. They ended the relationship with Jimmy and Joel Embiid. And then all of a sudden they went through Giannis.
Kendrick Perkins is making some really good points. So as you see from Kendrick Perkins, he's making a lot of good points here when talking about greatness. The Toronto Raptors in 2019, you could say what you want about them playing against the Golden State Warriors, and you're going to see from the Morris twins, they mentioned Klay Thompson. What they forget is Klay Thompson got hurt in Game 6. He was there throughout the series, and they were down 3-2 before he got hurt in that third quarter. Context does matter. And then you look at the situation for the Raptors playoff run. It wasn't an easy run. They lost Game 1 against the Magic. They handled their business after that. They went 7 games against the Philadelphia 76ers from that buzzer-beating shot made by Kawhi Leonard. They went down 2-0 against the Bucks and won 4 straight against Giannis. That's an impressive run to me. You can say, okay, they benefited from injuries, but you got to have some luck in the playoffs. Injuries are bound to happen, but if you're going to handle your business and win, because on the flip side, if you lose the injured teams, you're going to get criticized. So you really can't win either way. But if you're displaying a level of greatness and consistency in the playoffs, where you're showing up, games are tight, you're executing, that does deserve praise. And in my opinion, you're going to be a great team. And this OKC Thunder team is so good. Again, you look at the net range, you look at the accomplishments, the SGA MVP. They've got multiple All-NBA defenders on this team. It's just the list goes on and on. So to dismiss it like, oh, this team is okay, and just good, you're just dismissing their credentials and what they've accomplished, in my opinion.
And I'm looking at this team from top to bottom, and yes, they may not have a lot of household names, but damn it, this is a great team that's on the verge of winning the NBA championship.
I can't agree with that, Perk. I can't agree with that. And just to piggyback off of what you said about players being injured with Boston, when Toronto won the championship, Kevin Durant was injured. Klay Thompson was injured. That playoff goes a lot different. That championship goes a lot different if those guys are available being able to play. And to what my brother.
So you can't say in the same breath that the injuries to Boston's championship run did not matter, that they didn't benefit from it. But under the same breath, you want to call out where the Raptors benefited from Kevin Durant being out and Klay Thompson getting hurt. You can't have it both ways. Both teams had to go through the playoffs. They had to win. Boston was dominant last year. They only had a series that went no more than 5 games. That was really impressive despite the injuries in the Eastern Conference. Under the same breath, the Raptors went through the gauntlet in the Eastern Conference, which got them ready for the NBA Finals. Great teams either way. That's just how I see it.
Brother is saying it.
Well, you gotta have luck.
You see? Yeah. You gotta have some luck. There's always some luck.
You gotta have luck.
It's always,
You
but
gotta
I'm
have
just
a-
saying
you gotta
about what
have a
you
lot of
said
luck.
about Boston. Boston not being a great team last year. Boston was going to win the championship last year. From the time the regular season started to the end of the season, they were the best team. That was a great team assembled.
That is literally what the OKC Thunder are. They've been the best team since the beginning of the season up until right now. It's really that simple. The Celtics did that last year. The Thunder are repeating the same script. What are we doing here? I mean, geez, bro, can you watch a basketball game? Can you analyze it properly? Because no disrespect, this is just embarrassing. Because at the end of the day, the Thunder are incredible. Look, I'm not a Thunder fan, but I can acknowledge something that's great in front of me. Instead of just acting like, oh, SGA is getting all these foul calls. The Thunder are too physical on defense. No, they're just good.
But when you talk about OKC, well, first of all, we're talking about in the playoffs in general, and the only team that could possibly be close to being a great team is OKC, because all the rest of those teams are just good teams. The Knicks, nobody knew the Knicks was going to go this far. Nobody knew Indiana was going to go this far to beat Frank. And when you talk about great defensive teams, I know the Thunder are a great defensive team. They had been the whole year, but twice in this playoff, they got 140 points put on them. One time it was 140. The last game it was 149. But you use the word great. But you using the word great. Like I'm trying to figure out, what is the word great mean?
Like I said before, the Warriors gave up 134 points to the Memphis Grizzlies in a playoff game without John Morant. The Celtics got blown out in a game last year against Cleveland in Game 2. Stuff happens. Dallas obliterated them in Game 4 of the NBA Finals last year. It might not be as many points, but they have been consistent all year long. This conversation with OKC is just ridiculous in my opinion. I think they're going to win the championship. They've been so good all year long. Just watch them play basketball. They have a talented group. They've drafted a lot of these guys. They've made really good decisions constructing this roster, and they deserve all the praise. If you want to wait to give them the praise, you can do that. But like one of the Morris twins said there, Boston was dominant from start to finish. We're literally seeing that from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we expect them to win the championship, just like we expected the Celtics to win the championship after they acquired Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. I don't understand. I don't get it. But hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what the Morris twins had to say about OKC not being great. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the video as well. And I'll see you in the next one.